So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kate Remillard and I'm on the marketing team at VHT Studios in Matterport. Your co-host today for Lunch with Lucy. We have a very special guest, but before we get started, I just want to remind you that we welcome your questions. So please add them to the Q&A box on your screen and we'll have time to answer those as we go and also at the end of the show. You'll see a few poll questions pop up on your screen. So we encourage you to participate in those and we'll share those results live as we go along as well. Stick around until the end of the show. We'll announce 5 winners of our $25 DoorDash gift cards at the end. And then lastly, just be sure to subscribe to Lucy's YouTube page and keep up to date with all of her amazing content she creates, including our archive of the last 3 years of Lunch with Lucy interviews. And she is constantly traveling around the country doing interviews with industry experts. So it's a great spot to just for all the content you could even imagine. So with that, I'm excited to introduce Lucy.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as a matter of fact, I had a great pleasure to meet Thad Wong in person. So please let me introduce him first. So Thad is the co-CEO and co-founder of X Properties and Christie's International Real Estate. And we met a couple of months ago, had a great interview in person. And that's when I decided, oh my God, I have to have Thad in front of our audience, because what you have to deliver, Thad, is amazing about building your brand. And you experience building it from ground zero and acquiring an existing pretty famous brand as Christie. So you have both directions and would love for you to share your expertise. And I also invite you to visit youtube.com/LucyEdwardsVHT to watch the full interview with Thad Wong. So here we go. How are you, Thad?
I'm doing great. How are you, Lucy? It's good to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Good. Absolutely. Very, very, very excited. And I would like to start with a very simple question. When you decided to break loose and open your own company and start from scratch, what did you have to go through and loops you had to jump through? Let's talk about that.
I think, this was preparing for the opening was in the end of 1999, and we launched in April of 2000. The world was a bit different. We just got our first cell phones. We were all just getting our first laptops. There was no such thing as Zillow. There was no such thing as social media. So in some ways, it was more difficult because you don't have the efficiency of technology as you do today. And in some ways, it's a little bit easier because you didn't have the amount of channels that you need to communicate on that you do today. But at the end of the day, it boiled down to the same things that agents are successful today with, which is relationships. That we had very strong positive relationships, and we had a trajectory of building on that around our brand, which I'll get to when you and I talk further. But I don't think a lot has changed then, 24 years ago, than it is today, which is all of our businesses, whether it's as a broker owner servicing agents as I do, or whether it's an agent servicing buyers and sellers as many of the people watching do. It has more to do with their relationships, their personal connection, and how they build those than anything else.
I keep referring to our interview because it was really amazing. I watched it again just a couple of days ago. And you were talking about how important it is to have the marketing strategy to support your brand. And they go hand in hand. Sometimes even before investing in technology, you would invest in marketing.
Yeah, I think that, as an agent and as a company, your marketing is crucially important. What does it tell you? It tells the consumer your attention to detail, your quality, as long as it's aesthetically pleasing, who and what you are aligned with. But the individual brand of the agent and the individual brand of the company, they should flow together harmoniously to get the greatest amount of promotion, for sure. Individual brand and marketing is crucial to a starting agent, a seasoned agent, and all the way to a brokerage company or a national network or an international network.
Yeah, in your case, it is international network. And it's important to align yourself with the company brand, as I understand. You really have to feel it. You have to feel part of the culture. And like you mentioned, culture is overused, but still it is important to find a brand that a real estate professional can feel like, oh, I belong here. That is my home, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I talk to a million agents, not a million, but quite a few all the time. And having the creativity of their independent brand is very important to them. But I'd argue sometimes it becomes too important in the sense that putting the amount of time and energy of having something look unique. Where if you look at some of the greatest like easy one that just came to mind, Golden Goose sneakers. They're like literally $550 beat up sneakers. But originally, what made them popular is they had this star that was very similar to the Converse All Star, which is probably $70. So sometimes aligning with a brand that is more known, but differentiating from that brand a little bit is all you need to do. But I agree with you in the sense that what that brand represents philanthropically, from a quality perspective, from a marketing and branding perspective, definitely needs to align with you personally. And you need to feel good. And usually, though, that has a lot to do with the personal relationships with the managing brokers, marketing, training, coaching, and technology and leadership.
And probably coaching and technology and education is very important as well, because the company, your brokerage, will also educate you on how to use your brand. Like, for example, you are part of leading real estate companies of the world, right?
Yes.
And sometimes in some companies, agents are not utilizing, and their company is, their brokerage is part of leading RE, but they're not utilizing it properly. So I think education is extremely important for the management to keep reminding their real estate professionals how important it is to utilize everything they have invested in.
Never more important than right now with the recent ruling. Training and education and coaching is something that we've been working on building for over 20 years. We built proprietary classes that I think that I would want to take as an agent, getting what you're worth so you understand your value proposition, how to clearly articulate that so you can be worth what you are charging and then some. The perfect listing presentation so you can learn something new to add to what you're doing. But yeah, as a company, we have to be training and educating our agents so that they can perform at the highest level of their ability. We only know what we know. And I think that sometimes agents, including myself, we think we know it all and we want to just go out there and do it, but there's always something to learn. So it's our job as an organization is to watch everybody else out there, what they're doing in North America primarily, and understand what we can do to simplify it to get adoption. And that's the biggest challenge leading RE has, or what we have, any company has, is that you can have great tools, you can have great leaders, great training, but it's getting the adoption. And that usually revolves around culture. The closest culture you have, the connectivity you have with the agent, the greater likelihood you're going to get adoption, whether it's in your CRM or your digital listing presentation, or understanding how to talk clearly to the consumer about the brand and what that represents.
Kate, let's see what the results of our poll. So that is great. 88% said yes. Nice. Sort of. Well, the ones who said not really, you better start looking for the brand, right? Well, it's only two of you, so that's okay.
Yeah, nobody wants to be alone right now. And anytime there's anxiety in the market, anytime there's, whether it was COVID, whether it was Great Recession, now it's aligning to make sure that we follow through with the regulational changes that come through the lawsuit. That's an opportunity from a corporate perspective, a company perspective, a brand to empower their agents. So you can take this seismic shift right now. You'll have a lot of people that it makes them very insecure. They won't know exactly how to do it. I would argue things like this, when they happen, improve us and make us only more clear and more understanding of the value that we bring and allow us to charge what we're worth and more. I don't think this needs to be an immediate assumption that brokerage services are going to be less expensive. I think this is more of an opportunity to provide even better service, explain that so the end consumer is willing to pay what is your market rate or beyond for the special talent that you bring to the table.
And I remember during I keep referring to our interview because I was very, very impressed and I learned so much from you. And one of the discussions that we had, like we were talking about commission, for example. When you represent yourself properly, when you invest in your brand, regardless whether you are a luxury realtor or real estate professional or not, but you know what you're talking about, you come in, you have the right to charge 5-6% easy because you believe in yourself and you believe in what you get to deliver. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I think that, taking the time, now is a good time, by the way, November, December, first half of January before spring market takes off. And I do think we will have a strong spring market, that you're really taking the time now to even more clearly articulate your value proposition. 2021, everyone was successful. 2022, things changed. 2023, things got tough. And we don't know yet what the story will be in 2024. But the part we can control, because none of us can control the market, is how we perform in that market. And that has everything to do with the value proposition that you bring when you're having a listing presentation, how you differentiate what's important to that seller, which is their property, and how you incorporate your value, directly align it with that seller to place that property in the best light to get it sold for the highest amount of money. Now is the time that people should be focusing on that. If you're with that properties, it's getting what you're worth, watching Amy Core's video on the perfect listing presentation, watching and leaning in on the training that we're dealing with the NAR ruling, and really taking this slower period where there's less listings, less showings, and putting it into creating your superpower, which is your presentation. So when you go in, you can knock it out of the park because everything you're saying, you've studied, you know it, and it's true. And you know that what your competition is offering, that you're offering 50 times better, your materials are better, both physical and digital, and your communication relationship is better because you clearly understand why you're worth what you're charging.
What about social media? Would you say social media plays a huge role in advertising yourself and building your brand in your YouTube channel? Now, even I am thinking about doing TikTok, which I really never thought I would ever jump around to do the TikTok. And I'm not going to jump, I promise you, everybody. But it is it's just a lot of pressure and it's very time consuming. But what's your take on investing your energy in social media to build your brand?
So there is a great report. I love the guys at 1000 Watt out of Portland, Oregon. If you don't subscribe to them, check them out. Those two really come up with some of the best reporting. I've got both of their reports on my desk. The most previous that came out last week was so apropos because this was done prior to the ruling, was what sellers view as being valuable. And the new number one reason, or one of the number one reasons for a seller to engage with an agent is to market their home on social media. It was unbelievable what I learned following the 1000 Watt report. Also the 1000 Watt report on buyers. I'm sending that out to the entire company so they can read it because it's really important. These were both tests that were done on 1,000 consumers as buyers and as sellers, and how they responded. And one of the things that I took away from the seller report, which I'll forward out to our team, is that they are looking for their home to be promoted on social media. And that is a very, very big deal. And so if there's a lot of people still not doing that, that is something that you need to provide a solution for, even if you yourself don't like social media. That's something important to your client. So figuring out how you're going to get the most impressions for your client, whether that's on your company's social media page, your personally, or however you're going to do it, social media is crucially important. I think that, real estate kind of got cool again when these reality shows came on. And that was another surprising fact, that those really didn't turn off the consumer to agents. On the contrary, it got them more interested and able to lean in. And social media is kind of the second phase where real estate agents are really communicating directly to the consumer and beyond on how they differentiate their personal brand, their company, their value proposition woven into their listings, that the seller then loves it because that listing is getting significant promotion and impressions. So it went from a lot of print advertising back in the day to really right now, for first and foremost is the impressions that it's getting on all the channels in social media, especially Instagram and also TikTok.
And what about YouTube? What's your take on YouTube, your personal take?
You know, it's interesting. I think people spend a heck of a lot more time on social media than they do on YouTube, but I am not that generation, right? I still watch CBS, NBC, ABC, and the news channels. So I don't watch YouTube unless I'm looking up something and it brings me there. But that's a whole different generation that is different than me that needs to be talked with. It needs to be spoken to, and a lot of the same content can be transplanted into both spots. But I think why agents use social media more is that's easier to, I think, target to their own followers unless they've created multiple episodes on a specific YouTube channel. But I am not a YouTube expert,
Oh,
nor am
well,
I an Instagram expert.
well, like regarding TikTok, for example, everyone is saying I have to start using it and I have to really get involved. But I am like, but I am interviewing very respectful people. They're C-level, they are talented, they are successful. How I'm going to do the YouTube about my interview with Thad? I just cannot vision it. So I need to. I don't have a channel yet, but I'm working on it.
You're talking about TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that everything evolves, right? I mean, Facebook evolved. It bought Instagram. It renamed itself Meta. It's thinking about the future. Yeah, and so TikTok though is I have 4 kids. If you ask them everything that they watch, they're much more engaged with TikTok than they are Instagram. I think that real estate agents that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s are 70s is more Facebook, 60s is more Facebook, 40s, 50s, 30s are Instagram. But I think TikTok will all be evolving into TikTok in a short period of time, unless it gets banned in America. Who knows? That's the only risk.
Yeah, well, it has been a lot of talk, but nothing happened yet, But
Correct.
that was very interesting. We have very interesting results, and YouTube is popular. I am investing a lot of energy in YouTube because I'm putting all my interviews on YouTube. So please subscribe, youtube.com/Lucy Edwards VHT. I'm going to throw a little commercial.
Yeah, the one I think is more important than Twitter by far, and I would say for my generation, TikTok and YouTube is LinkedIn. I think one of the sleepers to advertise on as an agent and to connect and provide content is through LinkedIn. It's a very professional network, high percentage of LinkedIn, can afford to buy and sell homes, but it's a very professional way of presenting yourself as well.
And I agree with you. And actually, for me, it's the most successful channel. I have like around 11,000 followers, which for me is great since I started investing it only a few years ago. And I do like that. It is very professional. They also have education classes there. So it's really, I find it very useful, and I use it every day, actually. Let's talk about luxury brand. And I remember how you said, when you have luxury brand and you pay for it and you invest in it, you walk in and it's luxury. So people expect to pay more because they believe they will get back more.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when we founded At Properties early in 2000, we were really founded on first-time buyers, condos, lofts, townhouses, city residences. And then I realized after we hired Janine McShay and we had some agents coming over that had luxury listings that we really needed to speak with the luxury consumer. So we became members of Leading RE primarily for luxury portfolio. Leading RE is still a great network of ours that we deal with a lot of relocation, but they offered luxury portfolio. It was my only opportunity to try to build a luxury brand. So we put it on our signs. We spent an astronomical amount of money trying to promote and build that brand. This goes back to your first question about branding. Sometimes it's important not to be unique, because when you're unique and unknown, you are not remembered in the mind. Where if you see those Snickers ads where it shows Snickers spelled differently, that's a memorable ad. That affects your brain differently. Do you retain it? So I tried to build luxury portfolio, and the problem is, as awesome as the network it is and the resources they provide in training for the agent, it wasn't a luxury brand. So although we got #1 luxury share, we invested an astronomical amount in doing that and training our agents and bringing our agents over and building our market share. But at the end of the day, what I was most surprised with after acquiring Christie's International Real Estate is the power of that brand. Because you can walk in anywhere in the world And you can say the name of your company. At Properties means nothing in Hong Kong. It means nothing in Beverly Hills or New York. People don't even know it. But if I walk in anywhere and I say I'm with Christie's International Real Estate, done. It is, you are luxury, you are the #1 auction house in the world, you specialize in luxury goods, all things I like to aspire to, Hermes bags, Birkin bags, Rolexes, etc. And so there are only a couple of brands that you can do that with in real estate around the world. And you don't have to say much to somebody because their brain goes, I know what that means. Over 200 years, luxury, you're serious. And if you're competing against somebody, just carrying that brand and putting it out there is incredibly magical. So that's probably the thing that I've been most impressed with since owning the brand is the value of the brand. You would have thought, why buy it if you didn't really know what it was worth? That's a good question. It had more to do with network and building a network than anything else. But that piece of it, what the brand has done for companies around the world, but also in North America, how people have opened with that brand and it's made it much easier. It took us forever to build At Properties. And again, it wasn't my name. It wasn't my partner's name, Mike Golden. We wanted to be bigger than ourselves. And the reason I made it At was that I didn't want it to be unique. I wanted to be something that every single person does every day, which is press that at when writing an email, because this is back in 1999, 2000 at the inception of it. So why? That was the brand alignment. I wanted to be forward thinking, right? I wanted to be in the future. I wanted to be modern. I didn't want to be old. I wanted to be young. I wanted to be technology. This is even before we had a website. You can kind of, your brand and logo should scream or at least share what you are before somebody even finds out about you. It's kind of like the clothes you pick. You want them to represent and attract things that are about you. It's why if you ask me our logo though, our logo and our brand is really love. You came to our office, Lucy, you saw 80-foot by, 80-foot mural with love in it. You drive around Chicago, you see love on cars. And the beautiful thing about the love logo is that everybody in Chicagoland sees it on billboards, on cars, on murals and advertising. And it says love, which is the #1 thing that we want. It's how we're valued, how, when people love us, we feel good. If we love others, we feel good. And when they see that love, they think of At Properties. That was probably the greatest branding that we've done. And it wasn't easier than Christie's because Christie's is a brand we all deal with, but this is an emotion we all want to feel. And so if you can tie yourself to that, what a great brand.
When I was in Texas at your office in Dallas, love is everywhere. So
Yeah.
that was, we did the interview right below love.
Yes. I mean, if that would be the #1 adjective, that's the #1 description word that you'd want to somebody to describe you as a loving person, warm, engaging, attractive to the human connection. So that piece of it, to me, if we can have love, if we can have technology with At Properties, and we can have luxury with Christie's International Real Estate, I think we're servicing every single one of the consumers' wants and needs.
Do you think it's important for agents to invest in their personal logo? Actually, it was one of the questions from the audience, to create their own logo that kind of aligns with the company. It doesn't matter what company they're with.
Only if the logo is their brand, is their name. Sorry. I see too many agents get worried about trying to create a brand for themselves. Their brand is their name. When I sold, it was Thaddeus Wong, period. That's what I wanted people to know. I'm not anybody that does it different, by the way. This is just my opinion. I think that you can do it different and it can be successful. And especially if you want to build a team that doesn't have anything to do with you, because it's a team, different category. But if I'm an individual agent or even my team, I'm the team leader, I am the leader and it is about me. And so that is my brand. My brand is my name. I don't want people to not know my name because they know my brand. I want them to know my name first and foremost, because I am the person who they are hiring. And I'm using the brand, the company, the resources, the credibility, the reach, the luxury to enhance who I am. Because at the end of the day, I am the person they are hiring and trusting to either represent them on the buy side or sell their home.
But
so I think agents get a little bit lost sometimes in thinking that if I add gold or red or brown or a star, that's going to do something different. You're not going to compete with Chanel, Louis Vuitton. You're not in most of the brands you work for, you're not going to compete against them, and you really don't want to. You want to align with them so each one is supporting each other. I am supporting the agent, and the agent is supporting me. It's a two-way street.
And that's exactly what I was just going to ask you. Can you be consistent with the colors and the style? And you just answered my question.
Yeah, I like it. And I think I like the Dallas Cowboys use the star, the Lone Star State. I think that's genius. Chicago, I've seen agents use the Chicago flag. I've seen a lot of different alignments. Philanthropy is another one. A lot of us have, causes that we care deeply about. It's our emotional connection towards giving back to humanity or pets. I mean, I think adding that in there so people can get a better understanding of what's important to you. Oftentimes we don't want to put our families out there, right? That's not, but when somebody's hiring you, they want to know what's important to you. What's important to you outside of you? Where do you put your time, your energy, and money? Is it into pets? Is it into poverty? Is it into fair housing, affordable housing? Is it into, I'm a young board member of the Holocaust Museum in DC. I am a member of the Children's Museum in Chicago. Emmerman Angels, I'm a board member there for providing cancer relationships to people that are diagnosed. Merit School of Music, bringing music to underserved communities, classical music, culture, like aligning with, I think, and sharing with people what non-for-profits, charities, or efforts that are important to you are really important.
No, and I'm glad that you spoke about investing in the community, and you are obviously very much involved, not just in Chicagoland where you live, but throughout the country. And I don't see any questions in Q&A. I know that Thad is very thorough, and he's answering my questions before I even have a chance to ask them. But that's your last chance to ask us a question. We don't have any more polls, right, Katie? No? Okay. So
do you want to put your earpiece back in, Lucy?
Yeah,
I saw it fall off. I just want to make sure you can hear everybody.
Well, I can hear it with one, but it's better with two.
Okay. I would start walking this way if I had one AirPod in.
Thank you. Thank you, Thad. Your last chance to ask questions, please do. And I think we are done with polls, so we can wrap up. Oh, Thad, that was great. And please visit my YouTube channel to watch the whole interview. We have more about the community and charities and why it's important to support each other and why it's important to invest in the community. So I think we had really great conversations there, Thad, when I was at your office.
There was one question that was really kind of existential. It was, what's the greatest threat to agents in 2024? That is a tough question because I think a lot of people have so much anxiety around the NAR lawsuit. I don't think the NAR lawsuit and they're appealing it, but I don't think even the results are have to adjust the way we do things. And I think the way it benefits the consumer most is clarity upon communication. But I think our threats are much more of things that we can't control. We had the threat of inflation that affects our market. You have a big election next year, right? There are some things that could go significantly wrong there. There are really things that are beyond our control. So I would just recommend focusing on the things that are within our control. And that's a lot of your own personal branding and marketing and your communication, and not taking this slowdown in the market. Take some time for yourself, especially with the holidays for your family. But I would time block and schedule your relationship development to make sure you're a part of the recovery and you're a part of spring market next year. At the end of the day, there's been a big pause. More people are going to be entering the market, and you want to be a part of that.
This is a really great question. Real quick, Amy Garvey's wondering, if you had $1,000 to invest in marketing, what would you recommend?
Oh, that's good.
I'd probably buy layer one protocol Solana, wait for a year, and then invest a lot in marketing. Since you were talking about crypto, Lucy, but right now, $1,000 in marketing. It's a good question because $1,000 has more to do with distribution and impressions. So I would work with social media. I would do a lot of things before I spent the money, meaning that I would get lists of everyone I want to connect with, and I would ask to if I would follow all of them, and I would really try to build what I was, that list. So I would build up my followers and try to get them to follow me back. I would do a lot of things without spending the money. And then once I spent the money, I might actually do a raffle. I might actually provide content from my listings, but I might actually do raffles to my favorite restaurants for $100 gift cards. And I might have my top 10 favorite restaurants. I would start posting about those restaurants. I would post images of the food, what neighborhoods they're in, how they're attached to one of my listings, a relationship I had from the last time I went there. And I would do some sort of engagement with the content that I'm posting. And the winner or the person or whatever it was I drew out of a hat or I thought did the best job, I would award them a $100 gift card to the restaurant. That's what I would do with $1,000. I would invest in engagement, but I'd put about $10,000 of my own time into it to make that $1,000 worth significantly more.
And we have another great question. What's your best advice for someone transitioning to real estate from a traditional business career? Because we have quite a few new real estate professionals who are coming from elsewhere.
Yeah. I think that everybody asks what's the last book you read, and they have a tendency to read a lot of books on real estate. The only books I would read on real estate are books or papers or articles on coaching. And I would work a lot on my own personal being and my EQ and my relationship skills. Because at the end of the day, when you have a corporate job, oftentimes you're not rewarded for relationship skills. In this job, you're an entrepreneur and you're a salesperson. The best salesperson is the best listener, has phenomenal EQ, and knows how to close, knows how to ask for the close. The biggest weakness of most salespeople is they don't know how to ask for the close. So I would read and I would test myself and push myself on a lot of books that have to do that are more existential in how I look at myself, so I can be a more attractive person to other people. So I'm more of a magnet, so I don't need to search and destroy, but I can pull people in because I'm listening and asking good questions and getting out of myself and getting into them. So that piece of it, less of myself, more of others, is what I'd focus on. And I don't think you get that a lot in corporate America, but it's something that's mandatory in sales.
Well, great.
Great advice.
Someone was saying monthly postcards for your A clients. What's your take on print material?
Postcards have to be a part of your marketing, whether you have a sphere of influence of 100 people or you have a geo-targeted farm market of 5,000. We have an agent that sends 5,000 postcards out every 3 weeks religiously, and they have a volume to support it. Postcards are some of the least expensive, most effective form of marketing. Now, does anybody read what's on the postcard? Very little. But what it affects the serotonin in the brain when you physically touch something and you look at it to make the decision whether you're going to keep it or throw it away. And most of the time they're going to throw it away. They have to look at what it is first before they throw it away. It goes into their eyeball, it touches their brain, they have to make a decision, and they put it in the trash. You do that 12 times a year with your name, they know who you are, period. And sooner or later, they might slow down. We had a great story of an agent that just got a listing with App Properties, and it was from a client they never had. And when this person passed away, and when this person's child came to their cleaning up their dad's desk, the dad had a rubber band around something like 58 postcards that this agent had sent, and had a Post-it note on it that said, "Sell the house with this guy." And it was the guy who was on the postcard who came in. They told me the story. I actually started to tear up a little bit because it feels good when somebody's commitment on marketing pays off. And Jim Hanks, he just announced, he said, "That was me. That's Jim Hanks." So like, I love story. I am a salesperson. I was born a salesperson. I love perfecting the art of sale. I love it when people grow. When I saw Jim got rewarded for that commitment, even it was 57 postcards. It cost Jim $40. Okay, no big deal. And I don't know the price of the house, I don't know the details, but that's what direct mail is. And I'd also upgrade the direct mail to the gatefold, which is our marketing, which is 8 pages, which costs about maybe $1.50. It's about twice the cost of a postcard, but that people will look at because it's very, very elegant. It's got great content, good information. It's cool.
Again, investing in luxury, investing in brand, and just like you said, when something costs a lot, people pay attention. So
Yeah,
that's
and the gatefold, like if you're fighting against all the other postcards when you are a postcard, if you're a gatefold or a magazine, like a Christie's magazine or whatever, you're standing apart from it and you're elevating your brand and your level of luxury. And that's the secret to this piece is like, how do I separate myself from a sea of similar? Most of that will involve in one-to-one, but that's hard to do in marketing. Sometimes it's too difficult to even try to do, and it's more important to get out there than it is trying to stand out.
Would you invest in paid ads like on Facebook or Instagram?
100%. Now they're hard to target now since their rules changed. It used to be great, but now they'll literally have a farm of the minimum sphere is like 3 miles. Well, if you're in the city of Chicago, 3 miles is like from Dallas to Chicago. So it is very far, and the impressions are enormous at a population of 9 million people. So sometimes it's hard to target it, but I would boost and I would promote any content that I'm putting on. But most importantly, whether you're with or a different company, I would lean into the resources the company provides you to empower you. That's your superpower, right? You have yourself, you have all things, but what you can plug in and what's being provided for you. Now, not all agents, very few actually adopt those resources. So take the time to lean into what the company is providing you because that's free and you can add that into your repertoire to stand out. And there's a lot of good training out there that's being provided too.
Yeah, and that's why I refer to leading real estate companies of the world that
Great training.
Yeah, they have really good training, but not all the agents are utilizing or understanding what leading RE is offering. And leading RE is just one of many. There are other educational programs and also investments that companies are making in order to support their agents. So I think different brands offer different resources, but I do.
And that we talked about that earlier. Like the culture of the company always has the highest adoption. You can, when somebody says, "What is a telltale sign of culture and organization?" People will talk about all the other things. I will look at adoption because if the agents love where they work and they feel good and they trust the people they work with, they lean into the tools and the marketing. If they don't, and it's just a place to hang their license, they don't value the company where they're at.
We have a last question from Michael Koda. What digital collectibles and use cases of the blockchain should be found on the Establish Wow brand?
So the collectibles right now, I am not a collector of them, but my third kid is. Miladies are very popular. They took a little dip. I do love pudgy penguins, but I think a lot of those image will come back in a bit. As far as the utility of blockchain, I do think there is the AI combination of blockchain is going to be big. There's a token called TIO that's going to be an open source way for blockchain developers to work with, or I'm sorry, AI developers, artificial intelligence developers to interact and work on blockchain. There's another one, gaming, which is a big one. There's a company called Merit Circle. I think it's moving their token to Beam. And that is a great ecosystem for not only gamers that like to play, but developers. So gaming is a big culture. I'm not a gamer, but I do know how important it is. And I do think gaming will be one of the first ways that blockchain goes mainstream, will be through video games. So I think AI is another one. And I think you're seeing a lot of movement right now. I think with the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, I think there'll be a Solana ETF. Now that you replaced FTX with, BlackRock and Fidelity and some of the largest financial institutions in the world, you'll see some of the opportunity. I think that, the future of finance will be built on the rails of blockchain. And it was a venture for the last 10 years, but you'll see much more of a use case integration moving forward.
And last week I was at Proppy event here in Miami, and it was amazing. And I did not even realize that, it's still alive and it's still popular. And people are still investing. And there's so much commercial real estate and international real estate depend on cryptocurrency. And it was so if anyone is interested, please check out proppy.com. It's really, it's a good event, good company, and they have a lot to share.
Yeah, I think that the winter market of crypto didn't stop any of the development whatsoever. So it's sort of like it lasted about 2 years to this day almost. And the amount of progress they've made in every single category. AI is the newest category, but from layer 1 protocols, layer 2 protocols, even NFTs, everything has gotten to be significantly cooler. And that's something I study just because I know from my parents, as you age, you have to study things you don't know, whether it's a new language, and I was terrible at languages. So I decided to study something that was super foreign to me just to keep my brain fresh so I could learn about new things and stay current.
Real quick, next month, we're going to close out the year with Whitney Farber. She's with CMG Home Loans, and she's going to talk about some amazing and super creative programs they're offering to accommodate the needs for buyers and sellers today. So that'll be a great show. Be sure to look out for those invites coming your way.
Yeah, and then in January, we're going to have Gino Blefari from Home Services of America. So that's going to be very interesting as well. So please look out for all the information about Lunch with Lucy. Don't forget to go youtube.com/Lucy Edwards PhD and find that beautiful, interesting, engaging interview. So I really, really enjoyed it, Thad. I
No,
enjoyed
my pleasure. I
today.
enjoyed it a lot. It's nice to get in. It's nice to kind of think about everything I've got going on by talking about it in one sitting. So it's cool, and how it relates to everybody else. So I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. All the best, and see you in December.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Cheers.